Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our weekly Gita class. Let's begin with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashalakayam Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadate Shvapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaham Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priyam Nilachala Nivasaya Nityaya Paramatmane Balabhadra Subhadravyam Jagannathaya Te Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So we are discussing the ninth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Ninth chapter is entitled The Most Confidential Knowledge. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives different kinds of knowledge, which is all very important. And the whole Bhagavad Gita is the essence of entire Vedic literature. In the Gita Mahatmya, it is said that Sarbo Upanishado Gabho Dugdha Gopala Nandana Vatsa Partha Sudhir Bhokta Dugdham Gita Mritam Mahat. If we consider the whole Vedic literature to be a cow, then the milk of the cow is Bhagavad Gita. And that milk is being like the milkman is Krishna himself, and Arjuna as a calf is drinking that milk like a proper student of Bhagavad Gita. So in Bhagavad Gita, everything is very important. But in the initial chapters, 1 to 6, the first chapter was questions by Arjuna, different arguments given by Arjuna not to fight. And in chapter number 2 to 6, Krishna gave some philosophy, mainly Karma Yoga. So that is Guhya Gyan. Then chapter 7 and 8 is Guhya Taragyan, means more confidential knowledge. And the ninth chapter talks about Kevala Bhakti, which is most confidential knowledge. Okay. And we have also discussed that how in Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti is there in the middle, and in the initial 6 chapters, there is Karma, and the last 6 chapters, there is Jnana. So the most important element, Bhakti, is kept in the middle, like a jewel in a jewelry box, the jewel is kept in the middle. So, and within that 9th chapter also, in entire Bhagavad Gita, there are 700 verses. So the exact middle two verses are coming 9.13 and 14, which we'll cover today. So it speaks about Radharani and Kirtan. So let's see that what Krishna speaks in this 9th chapter, which is the most confidential knowledge. In the verses 1 to 3, Krishna glorified the knowledge of pure bhakti. That this knowledge of pure bhakti is very important, and this is the king of all knowledge. Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitramidam Uttamam Pratyakshabagamam Dharmam Shushukam Kartum Avyayam. So this is the king of knowledge, and this is the most confidential knowledge. Like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna gave different knowledge of different yogic paths. But the most confidential knowledge is the knowledge about pure devotional service, which is very rare. So in the first verse, Krishna spoke that I am speaking you this confidential knowledge. Why? Why the Supreme Lord is speaking to Arjuna? Because Arjuna is never envious of Krishna. He is friend of Krishna. So one has to be non-envious to understand or digest this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, or the most confidential knowledge. And this is the king of all education. This is the secret of all secrets. And we can also perceive this. This is not theoretical knowledge, this is practical. And when we perform this devotional service, when we lead our life according to Bhagavad Gita, it is joyfully performed, means we experience joy in our life. We feel I am much better than before. We can see that self improvement. And then Krishna speaks that if someone is not faithful in this devotional service, is not taking this confidential knowledge, then what will happen? They cannot attain me, and they return to the path of birth and death. They keep on rotating in this cycle: birth, old age, disease, death. Then in the next like 6 verses 4 to 10, so Krishna spoke about Aishwarya Gyan, Krishna's relationship with this material world. And there we saw that how Krishna is majestic. Krishna has both the sweet aspect and the majestic aspect. Krishir bhuvachako shabdanascha nivritti vachako tayorakyam parabrahma Krishna iti avidhiyate. So here Krishna speaks about Krishna's relationship with this material world. So there we have seen in one verse Krishna speaks that Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadabhyakta murtina matsthani sarva bhutani nacha hamte svavastita. In the next verse Krishna speaks that nacha matsthani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram. So we saw that we have to consider different aspects of Krishna. Like in the form of Mahavishnu, everything rests on Krishna. But if we consider the form in Golok Vrindavan, that form is detached from this material world. So like that, by the help of our acharyas, we can try to understand the inconceivable nature of Krishna's relationship with this material universe. So after that section, and Krishna is the controller of this material nature, and the material nature is working autonomously. Once Krishna created, Krishna does not need to control everything manually, but it is automatically functioning. But it is happening under the supervision of Krishna. So now we'll start from verse number 11. So from verse number 11, the next section is starting, which is Krishna speaks about different kind of worshippers. So we knew about Krishna's relationship with this material world, and now Krishna will speak about impersonalist and Vishwarup worshippers. Okay, but like some people cannot understand this confidential nature, and who cannot understand? So these are the two categories of people: impersonalists and Vishwarup worshippers. They cannot understand. Only pure devotees can understand the most confidential knowledge. Then Krishna speaks about another category, demigod worship. So 7th chapter and 9th chapter are quite similar. In the 7th chapter also Krishna spoke about impersonalism and demigod worship. And then at the end of this chapter, Krishna glorifies Krishna Bhakti, or pure devotional service. So that's how this chapter ends. So who cannot understand this Achinta Veda Ved, or most confidential knowledge of like Krishna's relationship with this material universe? Impersonalists and Vishwarup worshippers. So they are worshipping Krishna in a wrong way. Okay, so let's start. Verse number 11 says, Avajananti mamuda manushim tanumashritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. So here Krishna says, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So there are some foolish people who think when the Supreme Lord is coming and taking an incarnation into this world, the Supreme Lord is actually nirvishesh, or the Supreme Lord does not have any form. When the Supreme Lord is coming into this earth, he is taking up a material form like us. But this is a wrong concept. Whenever the Supreme Lord takes an incarnation, the body of the Supreme Lord is Satchidananda, the spiritual body. It's not material. And their theory is originally Krishna is formless, but now Krishna has taken a form. This is wrong. The scriptures mention that originally Krishna has a Satchidananda form. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govindam Sarvakarana Karanam. And there are many other scriptural references. Like in Ishopanishad, there is one verse Hiranmayena patrena satyasya apihitam mukham tattam pushana pavreno satta dharmaya drishye. So there it says that remove the Brahman effulgence, so Supreme Lord, so that I can see your original transcendental spiritual blissful form. So the Supreme Lord originally has a spiritual form, but fools are impersonalists. So impersonalists are those people who think, uh, who do not worship the personal form of Krishna. They think Krishna is impersonal. Okay, so they are worshippers of the Brahmajati. They are worshipping Krishna in the form of light or some formless thing. They think the Supreme Lord cannot have any form, because if the Supreme Lord has form, it has to degrade. Because generally we do not experience anything in this material world which is everlasting but has a form. So in this material world, we see all the forms they degrade, and in due course of time they are destroyed. So therefore they think, because the Supreme Lord is eternal, it must be that Supreme Lord is formless. But this theory is wrong. Supreme Lord has a form, but that form is not like ours. Supreme Lord has a spiritual form. So this impersonalist would think the Supreme Lord is formless in his original form. The theory is wrong, and they cannot understand. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So they do not understand the spiritual form or the Satchidananda form of the Supreme Lord. Okay, so in the next verse, Krishna says, so what are the nature of this kind of people? Moghasha mogha karmano mogha jnana vichetasah rakshashim asurim chaiba prakritim mohinim shrita. Those who are thus bewildered are attached by demoniac and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge all are defeated. So these kind of people, they are far away from the truth. They are bewildered and they do not know the truth about the tattva or truth of the Supreme Lord. And they are attracted by demoniac and atheistic views. So partially, if someone is thinking the Supreme Lord is formless, this is partially atheistic view and a demoniac view. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge all are defeated. So here the Supreme Lord is telling that if you maintain a demoniac and atheistic view, and if you are not performing devotional service, so demoniac and atheistic is completely opposite to devotee. If you are not a devotee, you will be considered as a demon or atheist. And in that condition, whatever yoga process you perform, like the fruitive activities or the culture of knowledge, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, everything in all the fields uh, you will fail. You will not be successful in any of your attempts if you are not a devotee. To get success in any spiritual path, you need to have some devotion towards the Supreme Lord. So that is the purport. There are many devotees who assume themselves to be in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, but at heart do not accept the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are some people also. So this is the atheistic nature. They are posing themselves as spiritualist or devotee externally, but internally they are not accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord or Krishna as the absolute truth. For them, the fruit of devotional service going back to Godhead will never be tasted. Similarly, those who are engaged in fruitive pious activities and who are ultimately hoping to be liberated from this material entanglement, they will never be successful either, because they deride the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So if you are not having faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, if you do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord, then you will fail in all your attempts. The next verse, 9.13, which speaks about Radharani, we discussed. So the verse says, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajantyananna manasho gyatva bhuta adimavyayam. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita. So there are two kinds of people, Mahatma and Duratma. So Mahatma means the devotees who are great souls. Why great? Because very rare souls can understand the science of the Supreme Lord. And fortunately, if somebody understands, it is very difficult to practice. I understand that I have to follow the four regulative principles: no meat eating, no gambling, no intoxication, no illicit sex, I need to chant the holy names of Krishna. I need to study the scriptures, Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all. So we can understand all the theory. But implementing that is very difficult. But Mahatma is a person who not only has understood the importance of spiritual subject matter, but is also executing. So that person is called Mahatma. So that Mahatmas, they take shelter of Daibi Prakriti. Krishna has two Prakriti. If you remember from the seventh chapter, in the seventh chapter, the Supreme Lord told that he has two Prakritis, Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti. Prakriti means energy of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is uh, the reservoir of all energy, energetic, supreme energetic person. And he has different energies. Whenever Krishna wants to do something, Krishna does not have to do anything personally. Krishna just desires, and all the energies of Krishna, they fulfill the desires. So similarly, Krishna has one energy called Parashakti or Daibi Prakriti, or it is called the Yogamaya potency of the Lord, internal potency. These are different names. And there is another energy called Apara Shakti or external energy or Mahamaya potency. So the Mahatmas or great souls or devotees, they take shelter of the superior nature. The superior nature means Srimati Radharani. If someone takes shelter of Srimati Radharani, that means he is practicing devotional service and he is taking shelter of Srimati Radharani. He is trying to learn from Srimati Radharani how to serve Krishna. And there are other categories of people who take shelter of Mahamaya potency, means Durga Devi, and they are trying to enjoy their senses. And Durga Devi is punishing them. We have seen the trident in the hand of Durga Mata. So the trident represents three different types of kleshas or miseries: Adhyatmik klesha, Adhibhautik klesha, and Adhidaivik klesha. Adhyatmik means miseries due to one's own body and mind. Adhibhautik means miseries due to other living entities. And Adhidaivik means miseries due to natural calamities. And additionally, there are birth, old age, disease, death, many problems in this material world. Nobody is happy here because everyone, most of the population in this material universe, they are taking shelter of Durga Devi or Mahamaya potency, and they are trying to enjoy by gratifying their senses. But happiness is not there in sense gratification. If they are after sense gratification, they will become unhappy in the end. There is no happiness in sense gratification. If someone wants to become happy, he has to take shelter of the superior energy of the Lord, Srimati Radharani, and practice devotional service. So that's what Krishna is telling, that Mahatmas, they understand this. And therefore, they take shelter of the superior energy, Srimati Radharani. And what they do? Bhajanti ananya manasho gyatva bhutadim abhayam. So they are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. And they are under the protection of my divine nature, that is Srimati Radharani or Yogamaya potency. So, and what they do? Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha didabrata namashantascha mam bhaktya nitya yukta upashate. So, by taking shelter of Srimati Radharani, they are always chanting my glories, endeavoring with great determination, bowing down before me. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So they are always engaged in devotional activities, always chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, endeavoring with great determination to follow the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Bowing down before me, these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So this is the activity of a great soul or Mahatma. Now, in the next verse, Krishna speaks about again, there are other worshippers. This 13 and 14, these two verses are about pure devotees. The pure devotees, they take shelter of Srimati Radharani and they always worship the Supreme Lord. They are always engaged in devotional activities. Even when they are doing occupational duties, they are doing it for Krishna in a full Krishna conscious way. They do not have any material motivation. The verse number 15, Krishna says, Jnana chapyanne yajanto mamupasate ekattvena prithaktvena bahudha vishvato mukham. So there are three kinds of worshippers who are not pure devotees. So other than pure devotees, we have ekattvena, prithaktvena, and vishvato mukham. These are three low category, low graded worshippers. They are not as good as pure devotees, but they are still some transcendentalists. They are trying to worship some demigods or some form of Krishna. Somehow they are trying to make advancement in spirituality. So Krishna speaks about them. Others, other than the pure devotees, who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge, worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. So, there are three types of worshippers here mentioned: Ekatvena, Prithaktvena, and Vishwato Mukham. So, what is the meaning? Ekatvena means those worshippers, generally again the impersonalists. They cultivate knowledge and they think that I am non-different from the Supreme Lord. After liberation, I will become one with the Supreme Lord. Although the scriptures they do not approve this philosophy, but Ekatvena worshippers they have this mood. They want to become one with the Supreme Lord. Actually, the understanding is there is Achinta Bhedaved with Jiva and Ishvara, the living entity and the Supreme Lord. We all are qualitatively one with the Lord, but quantitatively we are different. Just like a ocean water, the big ocean and one drop of ocean water. They are same also, they are different also. Why they are same? Because it is the same H2O with some salts, NaCl and all. So qualitatively, the composition of a drop of water is same as the ocean water. But quantitatively, there is a huge difference. Similarly, the Jiva, spirit soul, is also Satchidananda, and the Supreme Lord is also Satchidananda. But the Jiva is infinitesimal Satchidananda, very small, tiny. And the Supreme Lord is infinite Satchidananda. So after we get liberated, what actually happens that if we have the desire to serve the Supreme Lord, then we end up going into one of the spiritual planets. Like in Golok Brindavan, we have seen this many times, right? This is material world. If you're qualified, we will go to these Vaikuntha planets where Lakshmi Narayan is there, or we will go to Ayodhya planet, Ram, Sita, Lakshman, Hanuman is there, and we can also go to Golok Brindavan, Radha Krishna is there. We can go to Jagannath Puri, Mathura, Dwarka, many spiritual planets. And according to our Ishtadev, like whatever form of Krishna we like, we go there and serve that form. We do not become one with Krishna, that I have become one with Krishna. No, that's not the case. But there are some worshippers who do not aspire to serve any particular form of Krishna. They are not attracted to any form. They're impersonalist. They are detached from the form of Krishna. They could not develop any attachment for any spiritual form of the Lord. Ram, Nrsimha, Baraha, no form. So where they will go? They will end up here in Brahmajyoti. They will come to Brahmajyoti and they will be here. They will not be transported to any spiritual planet and they will not go to material world also. They will be in the middle in Brahmajyoti. And there is no service. In Brahmajyoti, absolutely no activity. You will not be affected by pains of the material world. That is true. But at the same time, you will not get any spiritual happiness also because you are not in any of the spiritual planets. So Brahmajyoti is a neutral state. Material world is a state of misery. Spiritual world is a state of infinite bliss. But Brahmajyoti is zero. You are not getting the pangs of material world, but at the same time, you cannot enjoy spiritual pleasure. So what happens? After staying here for some time, the jiva enjoys. Jiva thinks, oh, this is great. I'm feeling great pleasure. Why? Because the jiva was habituated in negative happiness. So if they suddenly come to zero, they feel some happiness. But after some time, because of inactivity and the nature of the soul is it wants to stay active always. But in Brahmajyoti, there is no activity. So the jiva gets bored and the jiva comes down again to the material world. Because the jiva is not qualified to go to the spiritual world, he comes down again. And this is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Aruhya krichena param padam tata patanti adho anadrita yushmadangraya. So here the jiva comes down again. And then if the jiva can understand the devotional service is the um, only thing by which I can be transported to spiritual world and I can get infinite bliss. So then the jiva completes devotional service and goes back to one of the spiritual planets. But the middle stage is Brahmajyoti. So while in Brahma Jyoti, these Ekatvana worshippers think that I become one with the Supreme Lord. No, it's not that I merge with the body of Supreme Lord and I become one. No, I stay in Brahma Jyoti separately. Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful analogy to clarify this point. Just like a green parrot in a green tree. If the green parrot is sitting in a green tree, from far it will be very difficult to locate that parrot. But that does not mean the parrot and the tree has become one. The parrot is still maintaining its individuality and it has not become one with the tree. Similarly, although the spirit soul goes to Brahmajyoti, it does not become one with Brahmajyoti. It maintains its individuality. Okay, so that's the thing. That's about the Ekatvena worshippers. Now, Prithaktvena means demigod worshippers. So, Prithaktvena worshipper means the demigod. So, they are not worshipping the Supreme Lord, which is the recommended way, but they are worshipping some representative of the Supreme Lord, like Surya, Chandra, Varuna, Indra. They are working on behalf of the Supreme Lord, and these Prithaktvena worshippers, they show some devotion towards the demigods, demigod worshippers. And Krishna will speak in this chapter also about the demigod worship. And in 7th chapter, we have already spoken about it. Bahuda Bishwatomukham, there is another category called Bishwarup worshippers. So this Bishwarup, I think we have already spoken about Bishwarup in the 7th chapter when we were speaking about Sadi Bhutadi Yagyam Mam, Sadi Bhutadi Daivam Mam, Sadi Yagyam Cha Jevidu. So this Vishwarupa is a form which is the universal form of the Lord. So what is this? So now in this, if we see the structure of the material universe, so generally 99% of the population, they are atheists, they are non-devotees, they do not have any idea about the Supreme Lord, what is going on, what is law of karma, how I am getting tossed around by material nature, three modes of material nature. They do not have any idea. So for some people, it is very difficult to accept the spiritual form of the Lord and worship. So therefore, they are given the scriptures recommend that they should worship the Vishwarup or universal form of the Lord. So what is the universal form? This is the imaginary form in which the entire cosmic manifestation is compared to the body of the Supreme Lord. For example, sun and moon, they are compared to the eyes of the Supreme Lord. Okay. And similarly, the trees in the like trees on the surface of earth, they are like the hairs of the Supreme Lord. So this is how the entire cosmic manifestation is compared to one limb of the Supreme Lord. So the Vishwarupa universal form is the entire cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord has manifested as the cosmos. So that is called the Vishwarup. And sometimes there are 14 planetary systems. So the upper planetary systems are called the head of the Vishwarup. The middle planetary system are called the belly of the Vishwarup. The lower planetary system, they are called the legs of the Vishwarup. Like that, so the entire universe or the cosmos is compared to the body of the Supreme Lord. This is imaginary form, but scripturally bona fide imagination of the um, form of the Supreme Lord. And if someone is not able to, so Vishwarup worshippers are like on the middle point. Someone is an atheist and someone is worshipping the spiritual form of the Lord. The Vishwarup worshippers comes in the middle. If you are not able to have faith in the spiritual form of the Lord, you can think that the Supreme Lord has assumed the form of the cosmos and in that way meditate on the Supreme Lord. So that is Vishwarup worshippers. So these are three different kinds of worshippers who are low grade than the pure devotees, but still they are considered to be transcendentalist. Ekatvena, one who considers I am one with the Supreme Lord, impersonalist. Prithaktvena means demigod worshippers, and Vishwatomukham means the worshippers of the universal form. Now Krishna speaks. Aham kraturaham yagya swadaham aham aushadham mantroham ahamevajyam aham agniraham hutam. But it is I who am the ritual, I the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, the healing herb, the transcendental chant, I am the butter and the fire and the offering. So Krishna is telling I am everything. In the 5th chapter also, we have seen Krishna spoken that Bhuktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Shuhridam Sarva Bhutanam Gyatmamam Shantimichati. I am the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. So similar thing is spoken here. So Krishna is telling any transcendental process is ultimately for my benefit. I am the ultimate beneficiary of any spiritual practice. So just like if someone is doing a fire sacrifice for transporting to heavenly planets after death. So in that fire sacrifice also, Vishnu's names will be chanted, and so the Supreme Lord will be worshipped, but in an indirect way. So in that worship, the primary purpose of the worship is not to satisfy Vishnu, but to satisfy my sense gratification, taking benediction from Vishnu. So any spiritual practice, the ultimate beneficiary is the Supreme Lord, but some practices are directly pointed, like pure devotional service, bhakti yoga. But other practices are not direct; they are indirect, and they will take more time, and uh, the performer will be going through different miseries. So the path will not be easy. In the 8th chapter, Krishna has spoken this word particularly. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityasah tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. For bhakti yogi, I am easily available. But for other processors, indirect worshippers, I am little unavailable. Like they will take more time. The path is not straightforward. So that is not the recommended way. Okay. Then Krishna says that yes, I am everything. That part is being continued. पीताहामश्च जगतो माता धात पितामहा वेद्यं पवित्रम ओंकार ऋक्षाम जजुरेव च. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. Because from Krishna only we all have manifested. We are the spirit soul, and the soul comes from Krishna. Our body is given by our material parents, but the soul is coming from Krishna. So Krishna is our actual mother, actual father, our grandsire. Krishna is the support of the entire universe. I am the object of knowledge. I am the purifier. I am the syllable Om in the all Vedas. I am the Rik, Sam, Jajur Vedas, Atharva Vedas, like all the Vedas. So here we are seeing Krishna is everything. Krishna is everywhere. In the 7th chapter also, Krishna spoke about this. Gatir Bharata Prabhu Shakshi Nivasha Sharanam Shuhit Prabhaba Pralayasthanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. I am the goal, the sustainer, the master, the witness, the abode, the refuge, and the most dear friend. I am the creation and the annihilation, and the basis of everything, the resting place, and the eternal seed. So, because I am everything, everything is pointing towards me, that everything is meant for me. So, any spiritual practices, the ultimate beneficiary is Krishna. But it is recommended throughout Bhagavad Gita that you take up the direct process. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam also, it is spoken that if you want something material, you should go to Krishna. You should not go to any other demigods. Because the demigods cannot grant you the benediction unless Krishna approves. This is very emphatically spoken in Bhagavad Gita 7th chapter, 7.21. So 7.21 Krishna says that I am in everyone's heart as super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. And the next verse says, endowed with such faith, he endeavors, he means the worshipper of the demigod, endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But, very important, in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. This is a statement from Bhagavad Gita. Mayaiba bihitan hitan. That whenever we are approaching some demigods means any other deity like Krishna's servants, not Krishna himself. Any other Indra, Chandra, Varuna, there are so many demigods. So for our material desires, if we go to the demigods cannot grant us any benediction unless Krishna approves. So the intelligent people will go directly towards Krishna. That's the recommendation. So therefore, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Akamaha Sarvakamova. 2-3-10, yeah. So Srimad Bhagavatam says, Akama sarvakamo va mokshakama udaradhi tivrena bhakti yogena yayeta purusham param. A person who has broader intelligence. This is the condition. Otherwise, you will not be able to worship Krishna. If you are mean minded, you cannot worship Krishna. Narrow minded people cannot worship. Whether he be full of all material desires, no problem. I have so many material desires, no problem. Still, you are welcome to Krishna consciousness. Or you are without any material desire. You are staying in this material world for a long time and you are completely frustrated. You do not have any material desires. You just want mukti. Fine. Welcome to Krishna consciousness. Or you are desiring liberation. Must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. Okay. So in any condition, whatever be my status, worship Krishna and Krishna will take care. We should not go to any other demigods. Both Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is saying that. Okay. So now Krishna told that I am everything. So therefore one should worship directly Krishna. There are many who make as their destination different demigods. And by rigid performance of strict respective methods, there is different planets known as Chandraloka. If they are worshipping Chandra, the demigod Chandra, they end up in Chandraloka. If they are worshipping Surya, they go to Suryaloka, Indraloka, Maharloka. But all such lokas or planets, being creations of Krishna, are simultaneously Krishna and not Krishna. That is Achinta Bheda Bhed. Krishna is, in one way, we are telling that this entire cosmic manifestation is Krishna. But if you consider the Krishna of Golok Vrindavan, it is very different from Krishna. It is called Achinta Bheda Abheda. Simultaneously, it is different also and non-different also. Such planets, being manifestation of Krishna's energy, are also Krishna. So the point is, everything is Krishna's energy. So if we consider energy and energetic same, everything is Krishna. But at the same time, everything is different from Krishna. Because Krishna is aloof from all this material manifestation. But actually, they serve only as a step forward for realization of Krishna. To approach the different energies of Krishna is to approach Krishna indirectly. So if we are like approaching different demigods, it is certainly better than becoming an atheist, but that is an indirect approach. So if you are habituated with mathematics, if you want to progress in a particular direction, you should make an angle 0 degree with that direction. Otherwise, if you make a theta angle and you progress in that direction, then actually a cos theta component will contribute towards your actual direction. So like going to other demigods is like taking a detour and you are not making actual progress, kind of. If you want to make actual spiritual progress, we have to directly serve Krishna. One should directly approach Krishna. For that will save time and energy. Why it is important to save time and energy? The more time we spend in material world, the more misery we will get. Because this is dukkhala masashvatam. For example, if there is a possibility of going to the top of a building by the help of an elevator, why should one go by the staircase step by step? Everything is resting on Krishna's energy. Therefore, without Krishna's shelter, nothing can exist. Krishna is the supreme ruler because everything belongs to him and everything exists on his energy. Krishna, being situated in everyone's heart, is the supreme witness. The residences, countries, or planets on which we live are also Krishna because they are Krishna's energy. They are non-living materials. So in the building is made up of cement and sand and all. These are external energies of Krishna. So in a way, this is Krishna, but this is also not Krishna. Krishna is the ultimate goal of shelter, and therefore one should take shelter of Krishna either for protection or for annihilation of his distress. So if we are distressed, we should take shelter of Krishna so that we can annihilate our distresses. If we are feeling unprotected, we can take shelter of Krishna for protection. And whenever we have to take protection, we should know that our protection must be a living force. Krishna is the supreme living entity. And since Krishna is the source of our generation, our supreme father, No one can be a better friend than Krishna, nor can anyone be a better well-wisher. If we spend long time in relationship with some person in this material world, we can understand this very well, that nobody actually cares for us. There, everyone is selfish. Till the time their like selfish motive is satisfied by staying with us, they will care for us or they will show care for us. But whenever their selfish motive is not being satisfied, they will immediately start to neglect. But Krishna never neglects us. Even if we are suffering due to our sinful activities and we have become like worm in the stool, still Krishna is there with us as Paramatma within the body of the worm in the stool also. So Krishna never leaves us. Krishna is always welcoming, and Krishna is trying to help us in many ways. So the primary protection of Krishna is whenever Krishna wants to show mercy to someone, Krishna will send his devotees in the life of that person. And the devotees will try to speak this Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and try to help us that what Krishna is trying to speak and what is the path of religion, what is the path of irreligion, what is the way we should lead our life so that we are happy. So Krishna, through the mouth of the devotees, speak with us. And when we are qualified, Krishna will directly speak with us. Krishna is the original source of creation and the ultimate rest for rest after annihilation. Krishna is there for the eternal cause of all causes. तपम्यहमहं वर्षां निगृहाम्युत्सृजामि च अमृतं चैव मृत्युश्च सदसच्चाहम् अर्जुन. O Arjuna, I give heat and I withhold and send forth the rain. I am immortality and I am also death personified. Both spirit and matters are in me. So actually, heat is given by Agni and this rain is given by Indra. But Krishna is saying, I am doing that. So that means that I am controlling this Agni and Indra and all other demigods. So I am the supreme controller. I am immortality and I am also the death personified. Both spirit and matter are coming from me. So I am the source of everything. So in this way, Krishna gave us the importance that why should we directly worship Krishna? And Krishna also gave a synopsis of the different worshippers who are worshipping Krishna in a wrong way or indirect way. So that is the section 11 to 19. So in the next class, we will discuss about demigod worship also, which is another wrong way or indirect way of worshipping Krishna. And ultimately, Krishna speaks about pure devotional service or glories of Krishna Bhakti. So this is the most confidential knowledge presented in the 9th chapter. What is the most confidential knowledge? Serve Krishna directly. Do not get distracted. How can we serve Krishna directly? This 9.13 and 14 central verses. Take shelter of the superior energy of the Lord and serve Krishna by chanting his holy names. So very simple teachings, but yet very like wonderful concepts and very deep concepts are discussed in Bhagavad Gita. If we can extract the essence, it is very simple, but at the same time, it is very deep also. Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any questions? Okay, so we'll continue next week. Probably we'll complete this chapter in the next class. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.